So, hello. Okay. Hello, my fellow patrons, and welcome to the April tutorial or little workshop, etc. So, let's just minimize that one here and maximize that one. In this tutorial, maybe you already saw it on Instagram or the video on YouTube. We'll do some knitting wire blending thing. Here's just like a few quick style frames I did. So from like a more entropy disorganized level to a more, organized level. And we'll do that today. Here is just like a really quick motion test. So we will blend them, we will get a secondary movement in. And yeah, we will do that today. And the sound should be fine. Yes, perfect. And yes, we will tackle that on today. And of course, first of all, I want to do a little breakdown. And of course, we will also do a little bit of style framing. This time not with Redshift. We'll just do it with Octane. Why not? Of course, you can do the same thing with Redshift. It's basically the same workflow for many different render engines, or you can pipe it into, I don't know, Cinema 4D, Blender, the software for rendering of your choice, and of course then use there, I don't know, Redshift, Octane, cycles, etc, etc. Another thing what I want to show you is it's just like a process thing. Maybe it will load. Maybe we can do that next month if you are interested. So just like comment it under the video. That would be pretty helpful if you want to see something like that. Because of course a lot of people are currently into AI. And I, of course, also played with that around. And I did, for example, some ornamental stuff with it. To basically get an image in here from Midjourney, for example, from an ornament. And then you can basically resample that and of course play with it around and create, for example, something like that. Maybe we can do that next month. There was also another experiment with, I think that was like a organic form. Let me just also show you that. Maybe you are interested, I don't know. And yeah, that was just like, I don't know, a quick organic thing. I think I also tried or did something like that because I really like those lines here. So this is basically the outcome. And of course you then can wait, give me a second. For example, do something like that. That could also be like tutorial, I don't know, if you want to see something like that. Okay, but let's now concentrate on the breakdown here and then start it. Enough talk. So first of all, we will start with simple lines. So those are basically just a bunch of lines scattered onto a circle. So nothing fancy here. So we will start with a circle, scatter some points, copy lines on there, preparing some pin groups. Of course, we need curve view for later for shading. And then we will basically start with our first simulation. And we will transfer also that first simulation to our final output. So we can use that movement as a secondary motion. Then we will freeze it, make an initial state. We will get that together here to those, yeah. More like a fabric structure. We will resample it to get a little bit more resolution, and then we will crumble it. We will like basically deform it into another state. But of course the point count will stay the same. So we can then later blend it together with, for example, a mask from a geometry. Or the cool thing is, of course, what you also can do, you could get an infection growth or mobs tools in here and blend it with that. Yeah, then we will blend it. And that's a cool thing because it's like fully controllable. And of course you can see it looks pretty rigid. But then we will basically transform the movement. And you will get that really nice organic look. And then resample smooth. That will of course enhance this organic look one more time, and I just sweeped it another time because why not, to get like a lot of detail in here. And yes, and then just rendered it out with Octane. And of course what you also can do, you can I don't know, you can play with carving, etc. So something like that, and do further R&D on that, or with a prim UV growth. And yes, we will use the point deform, and that's basically it for this setup. So it's not pretty complicated, but you can make it really complex with a little bit more R&D on that. And the cool thing is you can also copy it. You can basically choose every initial form that you personally like. So for example, it doesn't need to be like this elongated line circle thing. You could also like, let me just demonstrate here something. I think 25 is pretty fine for now. You can of course also, let's just resimulate it quickly. Let's give it a second. I think this is trim 48. You can also do, for example, something like this. Of course, currently it will not blend perfectly because of the radius of the mask, etc. But that could also look cool. So if you got like a more crumbled up fabric structure on the left and on the right side, and you will then start to form your fabric in the middle, can also look pretty cool. I think it looks pretty cool already. when you like imagine a style frame cut out like that, and you got your formed fabric in here. But yes, of course, fully up to you how you will do that. But yeah, let's go back to our thing here, our OG setup, and just reset that quickly. And we'll start basically with that. So What is that? A group expression. Okay, and of course you can do another simulation, for example, after that. Also fully possible. But yes, now enough talk. So first of all, we will start with our little circle here. So we will scale it down, for example 0.125, and let's give it the ZX direction or orientation, and we can bump up our divisions a little bit. It's not necessary, but you can do it if you want. Then we need a scatter. So the scatter basically initializes, of course, the points on the surface, but it will also initialize our density and our complexity of our fabric, string, structure, etc. later. So if you initialize here like 1,000 points, it will be pretty heavy. For example, I will start with, let's go for 20 points and get rid of the 0 seed here. And after that, what I want to do, I want to scatter basically lines on our points here. And the easiest thing, of course, is to do that with copy the points. So we will wire the points into the second input, so target points to copy. And then we will need a line. And this line is too short for me, so let's pipe it up to, I don't know, I think I used 5 on the other thing. So let's make a longer line here. And what I want to do, I want to resample it. So currently our line got 2 points and 1 primitive. And it's fine, but for a simulation we need more resolution. So what we will do, we will place down a resample. And now you can already see we resampled our line here. And let's get a high resolution. And of course, we also need to initialize our curve view attribute. So toggle that on. And now you can see our curve view here. So the curve view is basically the attribute that sits on point with a value from 0 to 1. And we can use that for basically everything. So you can use it for displacement, you can use it for shading, for further manipulation, etc. After that, what I want to do, I want to place down a group expression. Let's just call it grp pin line. And I already have here a preset. So what we will basically type is add curve view, so the attribute, equals 1 or equals 0, dependent on what point you want to pin, for example. You don't need to pin it, but I want to pin it. So you can also pin both points if you don't want movement on the top or on the bottom. And if you want to pin both points, you just need to get the OR and add curve equals 1. So now you got basically both points pinned. But I just want 1 point and I want 0.0 pinned, or the curve U value of 0 pinned, and this will be 0.0. So now we can wire that basically here in, and we will copy now the line on every point from our scatter node. So now we got our lines. Cool. After that, we will do the first, how can I say that, the first initial movement simulation. So let's just get here null and call it outlines to stay organized a little bit. And then just drop down a vellum hair. So vellum configure hair. And I want to visualize the thickness, and we can get a little bit thicker here. So let's raise up the edge length. For example, something like 0.95 should be fine. Looking good. And I think I did not change here something. No, of course the group. So what I want to do, I want to initialize our group here, our group pin line group. And you can already see a little visualizer popping up with those little spheres. And you can see now those points are pinned. So if we place now our vellum solver here, and let's go for 2 sub-steps, and let's just leave the gravity on for now. And we will simulate that. You can see our hair or strings will fall down, but they will keep pinned on our pinpoints. That's, by the way, also a cool way to get like those untangled hair to just let it fall down. But we don't want gravity. Let's just disable it. And now, of course, when we start the simulation, nothing will happen because we need a pop force, basically a wind force. And what I also did here is just like a simple pop wind with a little bit of amplitude. So let's now dive into our vellum solver. And what I want to do, I want to place down a pop wind. Of course, you can play with other forces. What I also did, I played with the pop axis force, or you can choose like a custom wind force. But let's choose like 0.3. And let's see how that will look. So I just want like a subtle movement. Of course, you can change that in your simulation. But I think that's already looking pretty okay-ish for me. Just close. I don't need it. I think that looks pretty okay. So now let's freeze a frame. So I want to freeze, for example, frame 72. So let's place down a time shift. Oops. Time shift and just delete the channel. And now basically it's frozen. You can see you can scrub the timeline and the frame is frozen. And the icon should go away. The time dependent icon should go away. Now what we can do, let's place another null node, and let's call that out initial state. So this will be also for later for the point deform. This will be basically our rest lattice, and this will be our deformed state. And we can already do that. Let's go here, out, rest, deform. And let's just make here another null and call that rest. Let's just call it rest. Okay, nice. So we got the rest and we got the deform for later for our point deform. Okay, now we have our initial state here with our lines, and we also got our curve view attribute. And now what I just want to simply do is you don't need a for each, by the way. I will use like a sweep node to get our kind of fabric twisted string look going on. And then we will do another simulation. Cool. Let's grab our initial state, and because I just want to use a for each to get a better visualization of that. So let's template that on top with E. You can just press E on your keyboard and go over the node and template it. And I want to place down a sweep. Of course, you can use other methods for that. Round tube. And I want to visualize one here. So not the full loop currently. And we want a thickness of 0.95. I think that should be fine. And I just want to use the columns. And now you can see when we do that for each, I think nothing will intersect here. Yes, perfect. And what I want to do with this line, I want to twist it already a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. So now you can get up the full twists here. You can play with them. For example, like 3. And you can already see it's a little bit like, yeah, twisted. And what I want to do is don't twist them too much, because I want to untwist them a little bit in the other simulation. And after that, I want to place down another resample. So currently we've got an okay-ish amount of points, but we want more points. Let's place it down and go to 0.025, I think. And let's reinitialize the curve view. Cool. Now we got that. Now let's go for our second vellum simulation. So again, vellum here. Of course, you can just copy it from top. So vellum here, but visualize thickness, and the thickness here is currently pretty off. So what I want to do, I want to set that lower. For example, something like that should be fine. And that's basically it. So we also got our points, of course, pinned to the bottom. Of course, you also can pin it on the top or both, etc. And now what I want to initialize basically are two forces. So when we simulate now, we will get, of course, like the same ambient movement from our original form or from our original vellum solver. But what I want is to like detangle that. So like really fucking get into it and pump that shit up. And what I did on this setup are basically a few forces. So what we will do is one pop wind. Let's just delete that. So one pop wind with a large force and a large swirl size. I can just show you it here. So one pop wind with a small swirl size, large amplitude, one with a larger swirl size, smaller amplitude, and a pop axis force to get a little bit twist in there. So what we will do, we'll make our pop wind 2 times, small, and let's call the other one large. And let's just go for the large, amplitude of 1, and the small will have an amplitude of, I don't know, let's go just for 4, and the swirl size is 1/10 of that, so 0.1. And let's just connect them. And a pop axis force. Let's drop it in here. Let's move it up to 0.5. And the height, let's go for 5. That should include everything. Let's go a little bit smaller. And what I want to do, just a little bit of, I don't know, maybe a little bit of suction speed and a little bit of orbit speed. So 0.35. 1.35, sorry. Okay. And now when we, I don't know what kind of, I used one substeps here, what the fuck. Let's just use 2 and, I don't know, 120. And you can see we will already detangle that shit. And getting some entropy in there. So let's just simulate it for a few frames. I think now we are pretty good. Should be fine. Of course, what you also can do in the end, like remove the time shift and get, of course, some additional movement in there. So what I want to do now is to basically freeze it again and then use our blend shapes to get that thing started. So let's just do one more null here just to stay organized. Out rest blend, and we will do here let's just call it rest blend 2 and time shift. Let's get a time shift in there. And let's just use frame 72. And we can then place down a blend shape. First input, second input. And now you can already see we can blend those between. But it looks not cool. And the cool thing is you can use like an attribute for your blend. So you will set that from attribute, and then you can of course also be creative. You can use, I don't know, a pyrosim for blending. You could use like a pyrosource spread for blending, mobs tools, own growth solver that will transfer an attribute. So what you basically need, or all what you need, is an attribute from a value from 0 to 1 that will blend then the geometry on a given direction with a given speed, etc, etc. So we'll do that with a simple mask from geometry. So what we will do, let's just get our rest blend here and mask from geometry. And now what we can do, we can initialize here a radius, the fall off of course, and a sphere. And I just animated the sphere. So let's just place down a sphere polygon. And what I want to do, for example, from top to the bottom. So what I want to do, I want to, first of all, let's make it a little bit bigger. So let's make it 15% bigger. Just get it into a good spot here. Cool. And now what I want to do, let's go on frame 1 and just keyframe at here. And let's go to frame 96 and just move it down and keyframe it again. So now we've got this really simple growth animation. And of course you can make that, for example, linear if you want to, or let's just ease it in. Whoops. Like that. And you can see we will transfer, enable the visualizer, we will transfer here our attribute. And of course you can make the radius like a little bit smaller. I think that's too high or too broad. Can adjust it like a little bit. Let's just go 0.75. Not enough sources specified. What's wrong? Oh, sure. Update from input. Wait. Blend. Now it's. Yeah, now it will work. Sometimes the input will not get updated, I think. But now it will work. And here, let's just make it bigger. Let's just make it bigger. Make the logo bigger. That should be fine. And the cool thing is, of course, what you also could do, you could transform, you could like scale the whole thing down a little bit, and you will get like more of an effect that's a lot of seen with the threads coming in and then forming the structure. And the cool thing is you can like really do that from like a far away. So what you could do, something like that, and then you got your, this is like basically the whole effect you see a lot. Maybe also with some smoothing. The cool thing is you can just smooth it out, for example, a little bit. Of course you need points for that, so I think a resample on the top here would be good. But yeah, that's like one of the effects you see like a lot. And of course let's just disable that. Of course you can use that for R&D. But please play with that. So like transform your first rest position to like, I don't know, another level, or stretch it, scale it down to maybe just 1 point, for example. Oh yeah, let's just do that, just to like demonstrate it. It's now moved, and now let's just scale it down to like 0. And you will get something like that. So you will get all blending threads out of 1 point, because it's like scaled. All points are scaled to one specific point. So you got no depth or height, etc. But the blending will push out basically those points to the original position, blend them here, and then you will get, for example, this kind of effect. Okay, let's just get that away, and we will work on that further. Now what we want to do is to get another null. Let's just call that out blended, and we want a point deform, and we want to deform this mesh with the rest point lattice. So let's get out the rest point lattice and the deforming lattice. And you can already see, oh, let's just cache it. Just quickly cache that. So now you can see we'll get a second movement, but you can see it's all basically crumbled up. And what we can do, we can just raise the minimum points on that. So let's raise the minimum points to like sample. You can also play with the radius, and then the cool thing is we got basically our secondary movement in there. And it looks, I think it already looks like really organic. Another nice thing, of course, what you can do. You can make another secondary simulation on here and then transfer like another deforming simulation onto the final geometry. That's of course fully possible. So you could also do that. Then we got our point deform, and in the end, what I want to do, the points are okayish, but let's make another reset. 0.01. Whoops. 0.01. I don't know what I choose here. 0.04. Holy moly. Let's go with just something like that. Oh yeah, because I want to twist it one more time in the end, of course. Let's go for a smooth after that. Make the filter quality 1 and 25. And also what you can see, if I change the radius here to 0.1, the blending state will get far more aggressive or far more sharper. When you like go up with the radius, you will get a way smoother blend. So just like keep that in mind. So you can play also around with different radius or smoothing in your growth mask, etc. What I want to do in the end, in the end it doesn't matter, but what I want to do is to sweep it one more time. Let's just sweep that whole thing. And radius of, I don't know, 1 maybe. Just go a little bit further. Attribute delete, because we basically don't need anything. Delete all, but I don't want to delete the curve. Go down with the radius, that's okayish. Still in the section. Yeah, that looks cool. And now, of course, you will also get like a way better image in your head. And what we then can do, we can just get the 2 columns and we can twist those again. So let's get a high value, maybe 60. And I think that should work fine. Just get the material here from Octane. And yeah, that's basically the setup. So what we can do now, I already set up Octane. I think there are a lot of tutorials out there to how to set it up. It's basically like the same as Redshift, but I think it's like a little bit different and fucked up. So what you need to do, you need to place like a ROP network with Octane ROP, and then a material network with your materials. But in your material, you will set up the Octane render target. This is like a custom render target, and you then set up your basically your render things in here, and then you link that with your render setup here. And yeah, that's basically it. But maybe they will change it in the future, I don't know. But yeah, it is what it is. So of course you can also do that with Redshift. But yeah, let's get, there is a HDRI already in there. So let's get like one nice wireframe for the Instagram story, so that the tutorial is like released. Also, when you want to render like curves or fur, etc. in Octane, you need to enable it here. So if you got a geometry, go on your Octane, press Object Parameters, and then on fur, render curves as curves, and then you basically have it. And yeah, let's start the IPR. I currently don't know what camera is choose, because I think you cannot switch the cameras in the render. I got currently camera 1. Let's fill in the window. This is also, I think, a little bit fucked up. Could be better. And let's change our HDR. Need to dive in here. Love and hate relationship. Okay, that's looking better. But there are the individual. Okay, that's pretty cool. Of course it's ultra high res. Let's do another thing, because I think that's too much for Instagram Instagram compression. Let's go like 9. Rule of odds, let's go for 7. Here, and let's start that again, and this is too, let's go for 11. Update scene. Yes. And let's go like a little bit thicker. A little bit thicker. Yes, that's cool. That's cool. And I just got basically an HDR map from like a studio setup. Nothing fancy. And now you can play around, and I think you can already see the, of course it will depend on the light, etc. Let's just rotate that a little bit. This is also so fucked up with the rotation thing. I don't know. Now you can already see like the blending, like from here, blends, and then to here. And let's get a little bit closer. I really like those perspectives, so or something like, I don't know, that. Of course, this is currently in the wrong. It's like a 6x6 format. It should be square. But the thing is, when you got in here and you want to like zoom out, you zoom out in the Octane like render window, and you do not zoom out in the framing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there are some tips and tricks. Of course, you could write it down, because I'm currently not really deep into Octane. But something like that looks, I think, pretty cool. And of course you can play with the materials. I got currently, I think, like a metal material on that. Yes. Of course, glossy, specular. I think I tried some other metals. Yeah, like a copper, goldish look. Like a edge blue look, etc. You can play around with that. Also, of course, in Redshift, so no need to use Octane. Of course, you also can use Redshift. Okay. So yeah, that's basically it for that tutorial. Of course, you can now play with. Please play with your setup. So make different initial geometries. You can play with the point count. You can play with the distribution, like a circle, on a sphere, on a custom geometry, on a shoe, on a piece of fabric. I don't know. Then play with the forces, play with the secondary forces, play with the blending, play how you will blend it with a mushroom geometry, with a custom growth thing, etc. So yeah, that's of course then fully up to you, and I hope you learned something. And I will see you next month in the next tutorial. Maybe something with ornaments, maybe, I don't know, Octane course, how to set up Octane, how to render with it in Houdini. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you, of course, in the next video.